Hey, those cards look pretty cool. So how do you get text to flow around images when they may be variably sourced from InDesign's data merge? Well, let's find out. These are cards for a prototype I'm working on with Button Shy Games for an upcoming version of their game Avignon. This is a sci-fi version called Anthelion. None of the art or text here is final, so fair warning if you're watching this in the future. The portraits have a transparent background, and what I would really like is for the text to flow around that silhouette of the art. If this were a normal static layout, you would just go to the text wrap panel and select the image that you want text to wrap around and choose one of the options available here. Probably something like wrap around bounding box, that is the second option, or wrap around object shape, which is the third option. Now, unfortunately, we can't do those just straight up because we have variable images in this layout, and we want to make sure that no matter what shape gets dropped into the image placeholder, the text will wrap around it naturally. This is a little bit tricky, and I haven't found a completely elegant solution yet, so if you have an alternative once you see what I've done here, please tell me in the comments. All right, here we go. Instead of directly making a text wrap around this image placeholder that we have that is housing all of the variable portraits, we need to make an object style that itself will have the text wrap attributes that we want. Now, that object style could also have a bunch of strokes and fills and a bunch of other effects, even layer effects, but what we're really focused on right now is just this text wrap issue. So we can go to the Object Styles panel by clicking on it over here. In the top right hamburger menu over here, there's 3 lines, give the option of making a new object style. Here I am in the Text Wrap and Other submenu under the Basic Attributes panel. Under Text Wrap, the option I've chosen is Wrap Around Object Shape. That's the third button here that I'm highlighting. I don't have any offsets, so I've set all of those to 0. The wrap option is largest area, which means that the text will wrap to the largest contiguous area of text available instead of wrapping, say, on both sides of an arm that extends out into the text area, for example. It'll stick to just whatever the largest area is. Under contour options, this is the most important thing. I've set it to alpha channel, which basically means that the text wrap will wrap around whatever the opaque part of the portrait is. As you recall, the portraits are on transparent backgrounds, so ideally anything that is transparent on that art will allow text to flow through it, whereas anything above a certain opacity threshold will not allow text to flow through it, instead forcing it to wrap around. Let's see how this works. Well, the card we had previewed up when we set up all of these object styles and settings looks great. The text is flowing around the opaque areas of the art and flowing on top of anything that is transparent. This looks pretty nice. The problem is that when InDesign previews in data merge or exports to a merged document, it's going to override all of the object styled attributes that we've set up, the result being that the text is going to overlap the art all over again. But the reason we made an object style is so that we can have a quick and easy fix for that problem. I have to merge this first. So I'm going to merge this, create a merge document. And if you haven't seen how to do this on my previous videos, I recommend going to the Introduction to Data Merge to figure out how that works. It's a whole thing. So now I have this card deck, and as you saw in the preview, the object style that I had created has been overridden, which is not something I want. Obviously, I would rather that these have the attributes that I had selected. So how do I solve this? Well, here's the step. After I have merged this document, I go to the Find Change panel, and under the Find Object Format, the thing I have selected is Portrait Text Wrap, this object style that I created earlier. And under the Change Object Format, I've also selected the exact same object style. What that will do, because I'm searching in this entire document and searching in all frames, it'll seek out any instance of the portrait text wrap object style being applied to graphical frames, which in this case is only applied to the portrait art. and then it will replace it with that same object style, ideally clearing off all of the overrides that have been created as a result of this merge. Now this is going to break some text because some of this art hasn't been tweaked yet, but I just want to show you what this looks like. So it found 23 objects and 23 were replaced. So now I can go through this whole document and hey, look at that. The object style has been applied to everything. In some cases, this has resulted in some unfortunate text breaks. That is not great, but at least this gives me a baseline to see how things need to be fixed, what things need to be adjusted, and what text needs to be resized, or perhaps the art needs to be adjusted as well. And let's fast forward a little bit here. The rest of this process, once you've applied the object style to your merged document, it's going to be a lot of troubleshooting on the individual files to make sure that they're allowing the text to flow as you wish. For example, you may get some line breaks here that you don't want, so that means having to move some artwork over to the right or to the left, or rotating it just enough. Sometimes even adding a little bit of like a pixel here and there just to fake the text wrap a little bit. Now, this is a very laborious process, and I won't go through it in real time here, but I just want to give you a heads up that this is a thing that will likely happen. Now, there's also another problem that you may run into as you go through this, and that is text not showing up at all, and the most likely culprit for that is very long words. So, for example, I have a card here called the Commander, and Commander is a very long word. I have set InDesign to not break or hyphenate any words if there's something that gets in the way. That is going to result in overset text in this case. Thankfully, with some trial and error, I was able to nudge him just enough to fit his name and the rest of his card effect text onto the text area. It takes some finessing, and you're going to have to do some trial and error in your process as you get this to work for your cards. But once you get it right, it looks pretty nice. Now, some cards are going to be completely unreasonable, like this smuggler here. His art is very obtrusive. His arms are going way out there on both sides, so there's no way I can flip this art to get it to work just right. And if I push him over to the right a little bit too far, he's just going to be cut off completely. Unfortunately, there's no other solution in this case except to create a mask on the layer where the art is, and make transparencies over the gun and the wrist and the hand enough so that the text can flow into the text area just enough so that it'll fit within the card, but also making sure that the artwork is not so opaque that it interferes with the readability of the text. Ultimately, in all of these efforts, the readability of the card is paramount. I will not make any decision that will make the card harder to read, because if you can't read the card, you can't play the game, and that is really the primary motive here. And that's it. It's just a matter of making an object style that has the text wrap settings that you like, merging the document, and then doing a search and replace for all instances of that object style to clear off all of the overrides that InDesign introduces in the merging process. And then from there, it's a matter of just trial and error finessing on the individual art files to get the text to wrap exactly how you like it. So I think that about wraps it up.
Hello, thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed it. If you want to download more stuff and more content, you can find it over in the Patreon at the link below. Thanks very much. Bye!